a leader has emerged, and as we think about this time in session and all the hard decisions that have to be made, this state needs to look for leadership. And whether one would like it or not, I think yesterday the governor exercised strong leadership, kind of in many ways said, if you folks can't do it, I'm willing to. At the same time, we've got a couple of days left. If we can work together and make something work, I'm willing to do that as well. So as we look at again, the next couple of days now, the cards are on the table. I think everybody Minnesota, at least that is interested in this process, knows what's going to happen, lest there be further compromise and discussions. But the governor's going to take this under his wing, and in my mind, to some great extent, he has exercised some level of compromise. Yes, he's accepted certainly the spending bills of the legislature. Obviously, he's rejected the tax bills, but we knew that a year ago in terms of where he was going to stand on that, and so did, frankly, the DFL legislature. You know, whether we can come together on these tobacco appropriation bonds or anything else at this point, that's certainly open, and I would hope that we'd have further discussions about those. But as it is, I think I would say the governor's exercised leadership. He's showing the way, and yes, certainly for some these are difficult cuts. For all of us, these are difficult cuts. But you know, we have to also understand the reality, and that is a $6.4 billion deficit, brought down to 4.6 if you want, but certainly a huge deficit, and one that you can't necessarily escape from simply by virtue of walking away. And I think to some great extent the DFL has walked away from the process in the sense that they have rejected at every corner, I would suggest, the governor's proposals. He's willing to work with them. I've seen them. I've been there. So have they. But again, now is the time, I think, for rhetoric to maybe slacken off a little bit, for cool heads to prevail, and to see whether or not there's any further improvements we can make to what the governor's proposed. Otherwise, the governor is perfectly willing, as was pointed out yesterday, to take this, if you will, horse and run with it, and do the best job he can for the state of Minnesota over the next 2 years.
Senator, are your members willing?
Dick?
I'm sorry.
Or anything?
Well, first off, I didn't want to horn in on Senator Sinjum's press conference, but I was invited to be here because one of the TV channels wanted to get my comments, so I figured I'd do them now instead. I won't have to do them afterwards. But you know, it's the DFL's bills we passed. We passed their bills on the floor. What more do they want? We passed those bills anyway. Second off, the other night we had to argue with them, please don't shut the lights off and go home. Don't take your ball and bat and go home. I pleaded with them. I offered 3 different amendments on the Senate floor to stay here. Let's just work our way through this. No, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. The third thing, they're totally hung up on this bonding bill of tobacco money. We used $1 billion in some when I was the leader a few years ago, and nobody complained. We could have kept that for our grandchildren or whatever. We could do it in 10 years by using a lot of it, or we could use a portion of it and spread it over 20 years. What would Minnesotans rather do? Get taxed or use some money that's coming into the revenue anyway? It's a total bogus thing on their part. And then they talk about mortgaging our kids' futures and all that. What a bunch of hogwash. They're in a caucus of everybody that probably has an Obama picture on their dresser at home at night, or when you walk into their offices, they have a big card, and he's sending trillions of dollars across the United States to everybody. You talk about a 2-year-old kid crying, I'm going to tell you, they should be crying, because when they reach 17, they're gonna. You talk about college money and the debt we're laying on them, and we're all hung up on a little $100–200 million worth of tobacco money. I mean, what's happened is, I think basically, and you know, the governor says he made a decision. It's just a decision. Let's let the DFL. I'm sick of sitting on the Senate floor and like line item ducks, not one maverick in the bunch, just boom, boom, boom. They vote for absolutely everything. In lock, stock, and barrel, They are taking this state down to where people are going to move out. There's nothing going to be left. And they come around and tell us that, well, we're going to close up our cities. I hold up my tax statement. And I go to Owatonna City Council, or I'll go to any county board, and that guy in Wadena that's got $1.2 million bottom line, and he's worried about $92,000 in his budget. I served 12 years on a city council and a county board. It's their responsibility to do some things in their cities. They got to take a little cut. The city is, businesses and individuals are getting laid off. I've had more people laid off in my Senate district in the last 90 days that I had in 18 years that I've been up here. Does anybody worried about them? So they're going to come and say, oh, well, the city, we're not going to have enough for a bike path or whatever. We're going to lay off the police and fire and that hogwash. And you all know it's hogwash. The city and a county doesn't have to lay off firemen and policemen. They can just do a few other things if they have to. But we're all in this together. So, you know what? The DFL better get their act together, and they better get their act together relatively quick. Because if they don't, we're out of here. And then the governor is going to they will have a year to figure out the people that Senator Berglund, and I have great empathy. I've told many people, when I leave the Senate, there's going to be somebody I admire the most, and that's Linda Berglund. She is a workhorse. She's not a show horse. She's a workhorse, and she sincerely is interested in all those people, like all of us are. And there's maybe a year or so that we can figure out something for that group of people that was already decided. But I just, let them come forward. A night ago, they wanted to just turn off the lights, and we're going to come back and we're going to redo this. And somebody, and I don't know who wrote it, and it might have been Bill, you might have wrote it, we were all just bumping into each other around here. We're just all walking around in a daze because nobody had a plan. Well, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a plan now by midnight on Monday. What comes out of it, I don't know. But at least we've had one adult in the room that said, you know, this is it, guys. People are losing their jobs, and we are not going to start charging $40,000, $50,000 a day for a special session. And we're not going to do all these things. And we're going to get out of here on midnight on Monday, and I'll do everything I can. But I'm not going to sit and listen to 2 or 3 days of all these people just keep whining about stuff. Get involved, try and do some things. And we've been here for 4 months. The governor started out with no new taxes way back then. And there's never anything until the last week or two, and now we can see what actually happens at the tail end. So I didn't want to horn in on this, but I hope Channel 5, I did my duty.
Michelle, you got anything?
How do I follow that?
Okay, just do it.
I'm done.
No, go ahead here.
All right. Any questions?
Senator, are your members prepared to run in 2010 on these cuts that could happen?
We don't know at this point, you know, what we're going to have. You know, it's not Monday night yet, so we'll see. But if the DFL forces it into it by their failure to act and to come to the table, we'll all run in 2010 on these cuts. So I'm not going to take necessarily the blame for what's going on around here. We've tried to work with them, tried to negotiate. We'll all run on that if that's the course of action, but I don't think it has to be. I think there's, Senator Diaz pointed out, there's still room. These tobacco bonds, it's okay. You spend, you borrow $1 billion, you got $800 million interest. You can do that. That's one choice over 20 years, or you can frankly go the 20-year route, $1 billion a year, $20 billion. $1.8 billion worth of $20 billion. What would anybody at the kitchen table at home do? What would you do? You'd take the $1.8 billion. It's a course of action we can take, and it's virtually painless. And it does, the effect on our kids' future. Well, we borrow around here all the time, bonding bills, so on and so forth. We do that.
Do you think this will spur negotiations, or not?
We all hope so. We want to work together. We want a better outcome if there is one. But I think we all know that, as I said earlier, and Senator Days pointed out, a leader has emerged here. In the midst of all this muck, a leader has emerged and said, "Listen, legislature, if you can't do it, I will. I'll give you some more time." We did it 3-4 days ahead of time, so the legislature has some time to come together and work with them. But if he can't do it, if the legislature can't do it, certainly the governor's ready, and and we're ready to certainly work with them and make this happen to the extent that we have to.
Well, what are the odds this will end up, the governor's solution will end up being the final deal, or do you think the odds are good? There'll be some...
No, you have to ask. You have to ask the majority leader and the speaker about that. You know, we all know the governor's ready to work. If we can find some middle here. He's a common sense guy. South St. Paul, son of a truck driver, as Senator Day says.
Well, whose bills are these? What, if the Democrats get a run against Dick Day, what's he get a run on? What's he get a run on? He get a run on... I take great pride in standing up and telling you. You know, I offered these people also $1 billion with Racino. You all know, and I won't get into the reasons they won't take that. That's $1 billion sitting there. Use it for indebtedness instead of tobacco. Why wouldn't they take that? And somebody says, well, the governor won't sign it. Let's get $1 billion to the governor, and then let's see if he'll sign it. That's $1 billion also. No, we can't do that one. We can't do the tobacco money. This is billion after billion, and they said, so, well, we're going to cut nursing homes. Come on. No. You're going to cut nursing homes. The nursing home bill you already passed. You told us what you were going to do to nursing homes. We got it. You voted for it. I don't even know if I did. I'll have to think about that. I don't know if I did or not. But whatever they cut nursing homes, they already voted for it. So who am I? I'm just the little minority guy. We're the minority, you know. Once in a while, it's nice to be in the minority. It is right now, because when you sit there and they just keep pounding at you you have bills that you can't get heard. You have bills that say, I'll lower the gas for Minnesotans. Gas. The cost of gas. You know, we have a artificial, Sherman antitrust in Wisconsin. I brought it up to these people. No, they're for big oil companies. They wouldn't hear that, of course. They don't hear half of the bills that you have that can save these people some money. So if they're in a little bit of pickle, I have no empathy at all for them. None whatsoever. The governor finally said, I'm drawing a line, here it is, and we're going to leave. And if I have to live with that, I will be happy, I will be proud, and I will do it. I am not afraid at all to defend any of the cuts. So I'm probably a little bit, don't want to get the leader here in trouble, but I'm probably a little bit more, if you sit around here like I have for 18 years, and people run this place and they just keep telling you what they can do and what they can't do and what they can do and what they can't do, it's very interesting that finally somebody says, okay, we're going to take all your bills you passed, I'm going to sign them into law, and we're all going home. Shouldn't they be happy? We're all going to go home now. There's going to be no extra dollars and whatever, so they should actually probably be happy too. Maybe they are. Half of them might be happy that somebody finally made a decision, because otherwise we would have been here and we would have had a government shutdown. We would have had a whole host of things that would have happened, and now we're not going to have that.